If the West has bigger fish to fry out there, which is the Russia-Ukraine war, the Israel-Gaza conflict, what is the role of the African leaders? What is the role of the African countries? Hello, welcome to Mandela Unveiled. My name is Mandela. On this platform, we speak everything health. We pick the bits and pieces of society, the political decisions, the environment, the social, the religious, free decision in society that could have an impact on your health. Something probably you were really not aware about. On this platform, we make it make sense to you on how every decision in society impacts your health. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, share our videos, and remember to leave us a comment. Well, at the start or the beginning of the conflict, when most world leaders were calling for a ceasefire, most African countries, and especially the AU, which is the equivalent of the European Union in Europe, only made a call on paper. As a matter of fact, the ceasefire that was agreed between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Force was broken by the US and Saudi Arabia. And as we speak, every form of ceasefire or truce or broken peace, most of it has been held in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The last one was held in Geneva with the AU in attendance. But looking through the records, there was no statement from the AU. As a matter of fact, the AU is virtually non-existent in this particular conflict. But this is a conflict that is happening on the African continent. Where are the African countries? What is the role of the AU? And to make matters worse, this conflict, which started in April, African leaders had the nerve, had the temerity to fly to the UK to attend the coronation of King Charles. Well, they got served what they ordered. They were bussed around in UK like tourists to attend a coronation when Sudan was burning. How do you go to attend a coronation event in the UK, a country that is relatively peaceful and would never in the foreseeable future have any form of conflict? Do you leave your country, your house on fire to go attend a coronation? Does that speak to leaders who probably are visionless, or these leaders are insensitive? To top it up, in June, some African leaders, including the president of the African Union, who happens to be the president of Comoros, traveled to Ukraine to broker peace between Ukraine and Russia. That is laughable. When you have a conflict in Sudan, in your own backyard, and nobody, not even but the AU chairman, who happens to be the president of Comoros, traveled together with Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa and some other African leaders to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine. When none of these leaders traveled to Sudan, if Russia and Ukraine are at war and you can travel there, why haven't you been able to travel to Sudan? You couldn't travel to Sudan. Why didn't you travel to Sudan? Until date, no African country has made any effort to travel to Sudan as they traveled to Russia and Ukraine. There is bombing and shelling in Russia and Ukraine. So if probably you feel the situation in Sudan is that, it is the same. Or maybe there is something to gain by traveling to Russia and Ukraine. Well, they also got what they deserve. The Ukrainian president made it clear to them that they should mind their own business and allow them, Europeans, to mind their own business. That was the perfect answer from President Vladimir Zelensky. Because certainly that was a step in the wrong direction. Also, aid agencies that pledged financial support to ending or aiding or relieving the humanitarian crisis in Sudan amounted to more than over $1 billion. Various news outlets have decried the amount of money that has been received so far. But the burning question here is, how much has the African Union contributed? How much has the African countries contributed to the cause of the displaced people in Sudan? How many countries in Africa have agreed to take in some of these displaced people? Well,
كبر هندوب الآن زحف نزوح وعدد من المواطنين. كبر هندوب
to African problems. I remember way back in 2001, the former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, at a new African Partnership on Development, made a statement that the leaders had come to an agreement and they would be accountable for whatever they do, and there was a need for African solutions to African problems. So there was no need for Western interventions. Well, thank God the West has coiled back a little bit. And this is the time for the African solution to African problems to manifest itself. Where are those African solutions to African problems? Certainly, we do not have any solution to any problem. We only have solutions to problems when it concerns money. That is where we try to boss, or we try to raise our shoulders high that we can manage our own affairs. But this is just a typical case that we are not able to manage our own affairs. And certainly we need external intervention. Well, I don't blame some of these African leaders. To an extent, I put a blame on the current Pan-Africanists. You see, people take the word Pan-Africanism just as its face value. But people who were Pan-Africanists, like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, and the rest, fought for a just cause. They were fighting against apartheid. They were fighting against slavery. And they fought in unison. And they believed in whatever they fought for. In the 21st century Pan-Africanist, people speak just for their selfish interest. People speak when they feel something favors them. When it doesn't favor them, then they keep mute. This current 21st Pan-Africanist try to make the African youth believe that the white is nothing but devilish. They try to make the African youth believe that the whites or the Western world are the cause of all our problems. They try to make the current African youth believe that the West are the perpetrators of all the crimes in Africa. Well, I beg to differ. I listen to most of these Pan-Africanists who speak eloquently. They have all the solutions to all the problems in Africa. And the solution, most is kick the white man out of Africa. Kick the white man out of everything. Do we actually believe that we can achieve everything on our own? Do we actually believe that we can achieve anything without the help of the West? Certainly no. And the Sudan conflict is just a case study. No African country has made any investment. No African country has made efforts to take some of these displaced people. And Sudan is in a very volatile area. These displaced persons moving into Central African Republic, the Central African Republic is already a failed state. So there's no safe haven in there. Chad is not a safe haven. Eritrea is like the North Korea in Africa. So you see, these people live in Sudan are really helpless. And the African solutions to African problems started way back in 2001. Well, we were confronted with the Sudan conflict in 2003. These African solutions to African problems didn't work. And it's high time we come to a reality. It is high time we know that the high road we have decided that we take, it needs to be re-examined. Some of these Pan-Africanists who speak so eloquently do not have solution to the issues in Sudan. When Thabo Mbeki actually spoke, the reference was to the United States and countries from Europe. They wanted to get rid of these countries that usually they fail, have some interventions in the country, in Africa, that they perceive to paralyze the effectiveness of the AU and African leaders. Without the United States and without the EU actively involved in the current Sudan conflict, this is the time for Africa to act. This is the time for African solutions to African problems. And we are found wanting. No African leader has visited. As a matter of fact, the Intergovernmental Authority for Development, which is an 8-member state group, recently talked about the progress in the conflict and the ceasefire. But during the meeting, none of these leaders came to any conclusive agreement. As a matter of fact, Kenya has also tried to meet both parties in Nairobi. President Ruto has done his bit, but these greedy warring factions have failed to realize the human cost of the war. Rapid support forces have been accused of engaging in ethnic cleansing, and that is, they are trying to wipe out the tribe called the Masalit, who are considered the Black Africans. And in Sudan, we have people of Arab look alike and that of people who are Black Africans. And the Masalit are Black Africans. And the rapid support forces are accused of engaging in ethnic cleansing, trying to wipe out the Masalit tribe. Does this look different from what one of the Pan-Africanists in South Africa has been calling for, that people should kick out whites in South Africa? People should kick out and take lands back from Black people. Once you start making these proclamations in this 21st century, people are energized. You speak to people's emotions. It may not happen in South Africa, but it will happen in other countries. I'm not by this saying that the words of such Pan-Africanists in South Africa has led to this form of ethnic cleansing in Sudan, but it could have its rippling effects. And that cannot be overruled. Also, when these Pan-Africanists who speak passionately about how people who have overthrown democratically elected leaders in Guinea, Mali, and Niger, these Pan-Africanists openly praise these military takeovers, you are indirectly emboldening heartless and ruthless groups like the Rapid Support Forces of Sudan. So it is no surprise that some of these groups have become so emboldened. Most of these Pan-Africanists speak against the West, speak against the United States, speak against the European Union. They speak in favor of the Russians. They back every policy of the Russians. They back every policy of Chinese. Well, these rapid support forces, who apparently are committing this ethnic cleansing, who apparently have joined forces or have joined arms with the Sudanese armed forces to commit atrocities in Sudan. If you feel the United States, the EU, Australia, or any part of the West is not a good ally to deal with, is Russia the solution? Is China the solution? Why don't you work on your hollow mantra, African solutions for African problems?